Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's live stream. Hopefully, everyone can hear me okay and we're coming through nice and clear. It's been a couple of weeks. Yeah, sorry we couldn't do it last week. I don't know how much I want to talk about it, but I'll probably put a news post about what's been going on. I'm debating whether to talk about it or not. But we had some news in the family to deal with, and yeah, so basically it's getting by with that really. But we're back this week and we are live doing question time. So if you don't know what question time is, it is a chance for you to ask me any question you like regarding Unreal Engine or game dev or anything you want at all, and we'll answer it live here on air. If I don't get to your question, don't worry, just put it back into chat and I'll try and grab it the next time around. So let's take a look at some of the questions that are coming in. I can really feel myself getting hot, so let's hopefully get through this without sweltering myself to death. Okay. So the first question I've got here is from Ghosty. How do you make the logic of an interaction system after line trace by channel that requires both hit actor and hit component? Good point. Okay, so let's quickly make an interact system. So I'm going to go ahead and create the interface. And I've actually done something like this before. I can't remember, what was the project we were doing it with? But it was like a machine. You had to hit extra buttons about it. But interact with. You have a look at as well. Okay. And so it's the same as putting together another interaction system. The difference being is that you want to pass through what in particular you are looking at. It knows what the actors you're looking at because you're getting that from the actor itself. But let's say you want to pass in the component as well. So on the lookout here on the input, we want to give it the hit component. And the component, there are different types of components. Basically, stemming from two types of components. You've got primitive components, which are going to be things like meshes, collisions, things like that. And you've got the non-primitives, which would be like your scene components. Now, chances are, when you're doing an interaction system, you're interacting with something solid. So you're going to use a primitive component. So we're just going to type in the word primitive. There, okay? And that's going to be our input for the lookout there. And your outputs would be the same as you do if you followed any of my other stuff. You have the verb and you have the noun. Okay. Interact with, similar sort of thing. On input, so we want to put in the primitive component like that. Okay, so all you got to do then is when you're doing your line trace, in fact, let me do it on the first person character because I'm going to another question in a second. Here we go. Whoops. Yeah, so if I go into, say, the tick event here, and I'm going to do the line trace as you correctly identified. Do a line trace, we'll do it from the camera. And get the location of that. Get the forward vector. Multiply that by a float, and that'll be like, I don't know, 500, whatever. And then we add that on. So a pretty generous thing. And we'll do a debug for 1 frame as well. And then on it out here, we're going to break that open, and you're going to do the look at like you would normally do. Okay, so look at actor, you go look at, but here you want to plug in the component, so you plug in the hit component, whatever it may be. Okay, and whatever else you need to do. Right, I'm not going to worry about doing the full things time, but that will go through there. So if I want to interact with an individual component of an object, so let's say for example I make a machine with loads of buttons on it. So we'll have a cube. And part of that cube, we're going to have some buttons. Oh, yeah. There we go. So we'll put that button there. Oh, we'll duplicate that one. And we'll duplicate that one. Okay, so we've got 3 quote-unquote buttons, right? Just give them different colours so you can see them a bit clearer. And yeah, there you go, 3 different buttons. And I want this thing to interact with the interface, so BPI interact. Okay. And then on my interfaces, I'm going to do the look at. And the look at's going to send over which component I'm actually looking at. So I can actually now flip through what I want to do with this. So I can get the component and I can compare that with different nouns, for example, or different verbs, whatever it may be. So you can put that through a switch if you want. It'll give you the names here. So we can say button 1, button 2, button 3, okay? And we'll say on the verb it's going to be push, and the noun will be based upon the component. So we'll take the component and we'll maybe do like a switch on it. So we're going to get display name, and we'll do switch on string, and put the pins as button 1, button 2, and button 3. Okay, and that's going to give me different results. Okay, so I can say on button 1 we're going to go push go. Button 2 we're going to do push stop, and button 3 we're going to do push wait. Okay, and if I go back to my player character and just do a print string of that, and we'll just do a quick append of that verb, noun, and set to 0 in seconds. So putting that into the scene now. There you go. And if I look at a thing, oh, why is it not coming up with print string? Is it enabled? Hang on. Hello. Why is that not coming through? Print to log. Let's check the log and make sure that's actually coming through. It's printing nothing. Why is it printing nothing? Hit actor, visibility. Yep. That should be coming through. I'll just print that out there. Yeah, true. Hitting that. True. Yeah, okay. So why is that not returning the right thing? Look at there. Double check the actor that we're hitting is correct. Machine, yeah. It might be that the component name is coming different. Hang on. Put that in there. I'll probably mess this up. I don't think it is that then. Print that. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, so the actual name of it. Button 1. Machine button, button 1 sphere. Okay. So you put in that, basically, and you can then discern what thing you're interacting with. Yeah. That's about it, really. Yeah, just put the name in correctly. As it appeared there. Yeah. So I think there's another way you can get that simplified. Get object name. Yeah. I mean, you could do other things too. So, like, you can get a component and you can get something else from that if you wanted to. Compare it with something. I don't know. Whatever you want. But, yeah, play about with it. The next question I saw was from Iron Thumbs. Ryan, can you show us how you would do a first-person glory kill mechanic like in Doom or the executions in Far Cry, etc.? Trying to get them to look nice in first person is causing me issues. Yeah, so we've actually done this for Mimic, the first person sort of glory kill type stuff. You may originally think, okay, I'm just going to do like a animation and just play the animation of the character, right? So I need to get a pair here. Hold on. I hate it when they named like this. I can't make out anything. So I've got some animations here. So I'm just going to pick one that we can do. Right, that's the victim. Okay. Right, so we're going to take this and the other one, right? So I'm going to go to there, take these two, retarget them. We'll choose how many. Did I do it? I don't think I did it, No, it's here. Don't know what happened there. Oh, I didn't keep those ones. Hang on. So it's paired, knife, neck, paired knife, stealth, thigh, neck, stab. These two. So we'll export the animations. I'll chuck it in the root. That'll be fine. Export. Okay. Make sure that look okay. Yep. Cool. Right, so let's say I want to just play the animations of these things. The problem you have with it is you probably want to tie the camera work to the head of the character. And normally in a first-person game, your camera's not attached to the head of the character, normally. So what we did in Mimic was we separated it out into a level sequence. So if you've ever seen my video I've done on level sequences being used for animation, like kills and things like that, the same concept, except we take a different camera and simulate where the head's going to be. So, for example, if I go ahead and create a level sequence here. Yeah. And I'm going to add in those animations. So let's bring in our characters. Screw it, just bring these in. Which one's this one? The attacker. So I'm doing this really poorly because I haven't done any of the previous work, but not previous. The setup. You want these to be at 0, 0. Check out that video series. You'll see what I mean. But you have these, and you want to add a camera to it and attach the camera to it. So, like for example, you have your attacker here. There we add it to that. Let's get rid of the control rig and give it the attack animation. There you go. So the player character is going to be doing this animation, right? You'd bind it to that player animation. But the thing you'd do is with the camera is you have a camera in here. You'd want to make the camera as close as possible to the game camera. So change its settings to be not constraining the aspect ratio. And I find that focal length you want to bring down to like 15. Get closer to the game camera. So normally in the third person animation, you'd bring the camera out here and you'd like pan around while they're doing the kill. In the first person, though, you probably want to attach it to the character doing stuff. So what you can either do is you can animate it following the head, which can be beneficial in the sense that if the head is moving too much, you don't want the animation to move too much as well, because it will be really disorientating. So that's what we found with Mimic. In Mimic, we don't do that. The camera is moving separate from the head or the body. We just track it loosely, so you don't get too like wobbled around. You follow it properly. But if you are going to attach it manually to the head thing, let me just come out there and bring that up here, close as possible, and we're going to add an attach track, and we're going to attach it to our knife attack animation. I'm going to put to the head. It's going to break a few things, but that's fine. I just want to set the transform to 0, 0. You may have to change the rotation of it a little bit because the bone's angled weirdly. So do that. So the animation you can see is doing lots of stuff with the camera work. So you may not find it's beneficial in that sense. It depends on who's made animation and what for. Yeah, it can be quite disorientating for the player. So you may want to detach it and animate it manually for whatever scene you're doing. And yeah, and that's it really. And then you make the binding switch over. So exactly the same as the tutorial that I made for creating cinematic animation combat things. Exactly the same as that. It's just with a camera positioned in the first person point of view or attached to the head. But as I said, in Mimic, for example, we didn't attach the camera to the head. I loosely animated it to match. So I could also angle it properly as well. So the animation of the head could look at and frame the android's head correctly in the shot. As stylistically, I want it to be in a certain way. So faked it with a camera trick. But yeah, that's basically it, really. Next question. I'm gonna scroll down here because I've missed a load. Hang on. Schlammo N, can you please consult me on how to get an idea for a game? I mean, ideas can come from anywhere. I basically look when I come up with ideas for games. I'll be playing a game or thinking of mechanics from a game that I already know. And first of all, I'd like to go, right, well, what would be my take on that mechanic? What would I do with that? So, if you haven't seen on my social medias, I've announced a new game I'm working on called The Chicken, which is a new game coming out hopefully this year, depending on various factors. But it is a puzzle game, and inspired by Lemmings, for example. So I started off with Lemmings. I was like, I want to make a game like Lemmings. And so I took a look at the core mechanic of that and thinking, what would an up-to-date version of Lemmings be like? What would be my take on it? And I just went from there, really. But it could be inspired by anything in your life as well. So you could I like the idea of doing a game about a mundane job and making it not mundane. I quite like the idea of doing that for something. Like I really wanted to do a postman job, but it turned out that game was already Death Stranding, so I couldn't do that. But yeah, something like that would be quite cool. So you just come up with, like, when you're first starting off, start off with something that you are familiar with that you can just rip off and copy and change to meet your whatever desires you want. Don't try to be like, oh, I've got to be unique and stand out and be innovative in this field. That innovation will come later when you become more versed in what you can and can't do. So don't worry about trying to be a trendsetter or changing the world. That'll come later. Yeah, get your feet wet first. Next question. Tech user, I'm asking about the Astrobot ability series. Is it still possible? At the end of the stream, you copied the hot air balloon feature where the mesh moved under the player. Can you make a full tutorial on it? I mean, yeah. We can do. We can put it on the list of things to do. Noted for future. Yeah. We'll see. Greetings from Trementino. Greetings from Argentina. Question: I followed your video about AI behavior. Everything works perfect, but when my character jumps and the NPC sees him, the behavior tree crashes. It's like he never manages to get his location because when my character is in the air, his location is outside the navigation map. Any solutions? He should still project it enough to the nav mesh. Yeah, he should still. It shouldn't crash. It may be like, oh, I don't know how to get to you because you're in the air type thing. At which point you probably can do things like adding a going to the last known location type mechanic. But it shouldn't crash. When you jump, it projects near enough to where you are in the nav mesh, so it will still see you on the nav mesh. As it should do. Should never cause a problem if you jump. So I'd be interested to see what kind of setup you've got there. But if in doubt, use something. Make something like a go to the last known location. So when the movement does fail, it can back up and do something else. Leroy, good to see you. How would you activate a character AI for move blackboard on a game state event? I thought to get the AI to move, but limited this to a phase. How would you activate? Activate a character AI for move blackboard on a game state event. It'll be not necessarily you make an enum which will interact with the blackboards, and you sync it with all the blackboards. So, what I mean by that, I think we've got a session afterwards, so we can discuss it a lot more there. But in your blackboard, if you do like a turn-based thing, you want to know when the AI can do stuff. You can make an enum in here, and you can do instant synced. So that means that all of them will get updated at the same time. So you just need to update one. You give it what key type it's going to be, and so it'll know what it's going to do, and then you can use that obviously in the behavior tree to determine what branch to go down. I'm guessing that's what you're trying to do. Say if done. My AI predicts the last non-located position, but sometimes picks unreachable spots behind walls or in the air. How can I check and fix this using nav mesh validation? Yes. So when you bring a nav mesh bound volume in, what actually happens? Ooh. I'll bring that like that. It's going to generate the nav mesh, right? But as you can see, underneath the objects, it still generates a nav mesh. So if you were to do a thing like get a reachable point in, get a navigable point in radius, that will still count as a location. What you want to do instead is use reachable points. So reachable points means it's on the same sort of island as itself already. So when you're using get last known location, you wanted to check, is that reachable, which you can do through a variety of means. So for example, so the main thing you've got here, if you want to get a random point in reachable radius, you got this. So that is going to look at a nav mesh, pick a spot, but will only get something that is on the same island in the nav mesh as you. The other way you can do this is you can get the path for it. not reachable. What is it? Path. Hang on, where it comes from now. It might be AI controller. Hold on, AI controller. Path. Yeah, get current path. And you can see if this path is reachable or not. God, I can't remember now what it's called. No, where is it? Get path. Get people. Can't remember what it's called. It's like, does path exist? Doesn't it? Does path exist? No. Path exists. No. That's not the right one. No, I don't see it. Oh, that's not right. It's something like this. The easiest thing to do probably is to use this thing. Just whenever you get a usually when I'm doing AI stuff, whenever I get a location of say the player character or whatever, I usually plug it into here just to ensure that I get a point that can be navigated to. Because like you could also get points that are like just inside or outside the nav mesh, like in here, for example, which obviously won't work. So it'll get somewhere close to it. It just stops errors coming out of it. So just use this. But there is a way of determining whether or not the path exists or not, or like whether it's a valid path is reachable. Like you can do it on like EQS and things, but I don't know how. Like I don't know, I'm not going to spend too long on it. But you look around and you'll see something like that. If not, just use this. The Turtle Tank, do you plan on hosting any more game jams? Good game jams anytime soon? There'll be another one in the summer. Yeah. Let me have a look. See. Have you ever used Unity? Is there a reason you decided to use Unreal Engine? Yeah. Long time ago. And I got started using Unreal Engine because I used to be a teacher in an actual classroom teaching games, and we were teaching it with like Unity and Game Maker Studio as well. And a student wanted to pick up Unreal Engine 4, and I was like, okay, well, I can learn it at the same time as you are, and we'll see how we go on. And basically, the rest is history. We scroll down. The squares, if you hide a bone, can it cast shadows and how? Not if you do the normal hiding stuff. So, for example, this third-person character here. What's happened to their material? Looks funky. Anyway, you can make something not render, but you still want to see the shadow of it. So there's a thing in here called, if you go to the rendering section, you got render. Oh, I accidentally turned on the Xbox. Hold on. Whoops. Yeah. Come on, I hit my foot. Right, let's get that back on. Is it going to be on? Hold up. What's happened here? Why is my switcher not switching? Damn my fat feet. That's the Xbox. Why is it not switching back? Hang on, let me turn the Xbox off. Ah, there we go. Hold up, we've lost the screen now. Come on. Screen 1, done. Nope. Why can't I see the screen? There we go. That was annoying. I forgot what I was completely saying. Nope, can't remember what I was saying. No, nope. Take two. Never mind. So, anyway, let's go pick another question. Is it possible to delete a segment of the spline mesh to replace it with a seg mesh? No, a spline has to be a continuous line. You cannot do it. Oh yeah, the render thing. Sorry, hence why we're here. Yeah, so you've got things like rendering main paths you can turn off, for example, and they won't render things like that, but they will still render the shadows. So, for example, ooh, why is it? Hold on. Rendering depth pass. There you go. Turn off rendering depth pass, and you see the shadows still casting. So you can do things like that. If you actually hide the bone, no, because what hiding the bone actually does, it scales the bone down to 0, so there's no shadow to be cast there. If you want to affect the rendering of something, you have to use the rendering options down here. So yeah, be aware of that. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. I don't know why the material looks weird. Does anyone think that material looks weird compared to like this one? Whatever. Christopher, do you have any suggestions for media/research on how to understand blueprinting visual scripting more? So I've been releasing some videos called Understanding Unreal Engine, where it sort of like goes through not just like not going beyond just like saying here's the UI, this was what that button does, this is what that button does. It's more about trying to get you to understand and think in terms of how things work and what they do. And so you can come up with your own solutions, and that's been the sort of ethos of that little mini series. So do check out those videos to help you get started. Other than that, lots of practice and experimentation. I can't emphasize experimentation enough, as that's how you get to work out the little wiggles that you have here, there, and everywhere. When is the next episode of Retro Remake? Tomorrow. How do you know when to use a data asset instead of a data table? Also, when modifying a data table, the changes don't update unless you refresh the blueprint. Are you aware of that? Also, when modifying a data table, will change that update unless you refresh the blueprint. Okay, so first thing, why would you use a data asset versus data table? So a data table is like a phone book, right? It's got to go through and look for every single line. So let's say you're looking for Matthew in the phone book. You have to scroll from the top. You scroll all the way down to find Matthew, and then you can get the information you need. Which is okay, fine, but that means you have to scroll through every asset, every entry to find the right one, which can be problematic if you've got, say, a lot of them. In terms of data assets, these are individual assets that have their own unique location in memory. So it can be a direct reference to it rather than a lookup in a table. So it's a lot quicker to access things like that. It can also be a little bit easier to manage. And the problem you're stating about the refreshing of the data table, if you modify a data table, yeah, if you were to add more columns to it, like change the struct, then yes, that would cause some issues, and that's been known to crash some people's engines. I don't know if it's still doing it regularly, but that can happen. So I mean, I prefer using data assets nowadays, but yeah, the downside using data assets compared to data tables is that you've got to just manage it yourself. There's loads of stuff you can manage in your content browser, for example. And obviously it's got to load up all these assets that may or may not be referenced. Yeah. Austin Barnes. Firstly, great. Appreciate your content. Thank you. What is your go-to recommendation for finding and utilizing animations which isn't Mixamo? Yeah, Mixamo has loads of problems because of the root bone issues. Honestly, I just go to Epic Games Store, what is now Fab, and buy animation packs. And I just keep a library of them. If I find one that's going cheap or that look interesting, I'll keep it. Likewise, I go to Humble Bundle and see if there's anything there too. And if anything that pops up in there, I just take and keep for my future self. So yeah, it's got a Humble Bundle software, and there's usually something in here. So there's this one. It's got a load of like scans and objects and things, but sometimes there's like animation packs in here too. You know, all-in-one VR game dev bundle. I don't know. I'll just grab these and just keep a little library of assets that I use for various things. Be surprised how often you come up with, hey, I'm going to use this for this type of thing. And it's pretty good for generating prototypes with too, because you often will take assets and manipulate them, edit them in some kind of fashion. So the chicken game, there's a lot of assets in there that I've just edited and made from scratch using modeling tools. Yeah, that's what I do. Lionel Lebolanger. I'll soon make a video about hierarchical instance-like meshes and instance-like meshes. And I wanted to know if combined with nanite, which one is better in comparison to lightweight instances. I don't think it would matter too much. I don't know. I haven't tested it. But thinking of how the technology works, I can't imagine it being much different. Yeah, no, I can't think of why it would be much different, if anything. So yeah. thank you for answering the question. Would this be the best way to prevent the camera clipping in the character's head? Partly that. The other thing you want to do, if you're doing something like that, is you want to do owner no see. So if you turn that on, that means if you're viewing, if you own this actor, like you're viewing from the actor, you can't see it. Others can. So you can do stuff like that. I've done a setup before, and I showed how I did it with a first-person camera setup, where we had the shadow of a third-person character, but the arms were only of, and the legs only of a character, not anything else. Check it out. If you look for it on my channel, you'll find it. It's on there. But yeah, use this. Bum, 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 bum. Bowl of dog water. What's the best practice of replication of blueprint logic with the client and server? So the best thing to do, well, as always, the classic answer of "it depends" comes up. Yeah. If you want to replicate anything, obviously, if you don't really know, it has to come from the server first. It is also far more beneficial, far more efficient to use rep notify than using multicast all the time. So you want to avoid multicasting when you can avoid it. Try to use rep notifiers instead if you can. So, for example, if you've got a third-person character here set up, you may have something like the player pushes the left mouse button to shoot, whatever, okay, or punch, right? So let's say they have a function here called punch, whatever. What I could, rather than doing like a multicast, because this is a client, because it's input. If I was do like a multicast way, you would do something like multicast punch, call the punch function, and that be multicasted. But to be able to call that, you need to be the server. This is a client, so it can't call it. But you can call the server from the client. So you have to do another one, which is custom event server punch, whatever. Yeah. Oh, whatever. Run on server there, and then that would call the multicast punch. So you got this like long way about it. So when you push the left mouse button, you call the server punch. The server calls the multicast punch, and the punch is handled by everyone. The problem with that is obviously it's got a lot of back and forth on it, and it's not the most efficient way of doing it. The more efficient way of doing it is using rep notifiers. So, for example, we can do a thing on our variable here is punching, and we can change it to a rep notifier, and on the rep notifier, it creates this event, and now you can do, okay, now you can do play montage or whatever. Yeah, and do things, whatever it may be. So, and that's going to run, if I now call that from here, rather than doing multicasting, you're just doing on server is punching. You probably would plug that in like that, for example. That's going to be a lot more efficient way of doing it. So try to use rep notifiers on variables as much as possible. They are a lot more efficient. I've done a test before when I was optimizing Mimic. The like doors, for example. I think I shaved by a factor of 10 the amount of bandwidth they were taking up, yeah, which wasn't a lot, but at the time, but 10 times less is obviously great. So yeah, do that. Yeah. So Zero is asking a good question about the cam setup in a third-person character. So let me just show what he may be referring to. There's lots of things you can do with cameras, by the way. Lots. So let me go to the third-person map. Sure. Okay. So the default camera is pretty basic. It just lets you turn around. What is up with this material? whatever. As I say, pretty basic. Yeah, you can do stuff like this. Now, the other next step of that basicness is to add like lag and things like that. But there's lots of other things you can do as well, where you can sort of automate the camera in some kind of fashion. And that's using camera modifiers to some degree. So you could make a thing like, let's go into here, for example, and do cam modifier. And we'll do this one as repel walls, for example. Okay. And what you can do with this cam modifier is it basically happens like a tick event. So what you can do on here is you can make it call other functions to do something called like whiskers, where you can project line traces out from the character and work out whether or not they should move the camera away from the wall, for example. So for example, let's do a quick example of this. So I'm going to take the location of the camera. I'm going to do a line trace to the left and to the right of the camera. So let's do a function in here. Line trace whisker left. Do line trace by channel. And for this, the start position is going to be plugged into there. But the end position is going to be based upon the right vector of the direction it's going in. So it's going to feed in a rotation vector. So let's give it a rotator. Rotation. And I'm going to go get right vector. And we'll multiply that by a range of, say, I don't know, 500, whatever. And we can add that onto our option there. And what it's going to do is it's going to do a line trace to my left, or no, it's not, to the right. So it made that negative 500 there. To now going to the left. And if that hits something, I can then tell it to do something with the hit there. So let's just return that value like that. And if I go to the event, or not event graph, the blueprint modifier, I use that line trace whisker there. I'll plug in the start and rotation. And that's now going to do a line trace to the left. And if that hits, that means there's a wall there to the left. So I want to repel the camera to the right a bit. So I want to take the maybe the view location here, and I want to add to it. Not add to it. Yeah, no, I want to add to it. I don't know. No, right, hang on. I want to move it to the right or left of it. So I'm going to get the right vector of this. Multiply that by a strength. So say like, I don't know, 10. And the view location here, we're going to add that onto here. And then this is going to be used at the new view location if this is true, right? So, but to make it smoother, I'm going to do V interp too. And that's going to be the target. The view location is going to be the current. Delta time is going to be the delta time. And intercept speed is how fast is it going to do it. I'll say 3. And the new view location here is going to be plugged into there. Rotation will be the same. We'll do view rotation. And FOV will keep the same, for example. But I only want to do this if that's true. So the target here, we'll do select vector. Plug that into the target. Yes, spit this out a bit. If it's true, and it picks A, I want it to add to the vector. If it's false, and it picks B, I want it to keep just the regular view location as it was. And here we've got a cam mod. Okay, so you can make a variety of cam mods that do various different things. Like for example, when you zoom further away from the character, you may want to offset the location of the camera a little bit. Or like when you're looking down, it offsets the rotation of it a little bit more. You know, there's various things you can do like that. And usually you can make your own stuff for the your own camera modifier. You can add it to the character dynamically, or you can add it manually by making your own player camera manager. PCM. For this though, you need your own controller. So let's make our own controller. PC. And in the player controller, up here you got player camera manager class. You can choose our one. Obviously you get one with it by default, but if you want to modify it, you can do. Because now I can go into my player camera manager, scroll down, and you'll see there default modifiers. You'll get camera shake, that comes with it, but we can add more to it, and we're going to add in our repel walls like that. And now we're just going to tell our game mode here to use that player controller. Okay, so let's see how this reacts, if at all. It might not work because the camera's being overwritten a lot. Hold on, let's see what I've done wrong. Let me just do debug for duration. We should see a line coming out for where the camera is. Yeah, there it is. Although it looks like it's coming from very far away. Oh no, that's right. That's where the camera is. Yeah, that's right. So why is that not coming back as a hit? Yeah, it's a hit. What have I done wrong? Probably done this bit wrong. I think actually I need to promote this to a variable, don't I? I'll just put that there. That there. I'll go into that, and then the current is going to be this value. Yeah. I think. Oop. So you can see where it now pushing the camera out a little bit. It's doing some weird behavior type stuff. So you can do various things that mess about the camera kind of fashion. This is just a very quick, dirty example that you can achieve. As you can see, you get different sort of behaviors here. Like, ooh. Ooh. So yeah, play about with it and see what you can do. There's a great GDC talk I recommend doing. Let me get it for you. I recommend it to everyone. It's a really good one to follow. It's this one. 50 game camera mistakes. Really good, strong GDC talk. They talk about what I've just done here, like called whiskers. Obviously, it's a lot more complex than what I just did. As you do like loads coming out of the character, so you know how much to move it by and things. So you can swing the camera away from obstacles. Yeah, so there's loads of different things to good tips in here to pick out. So strongly recommend watching this if you haven't done so. Hey Ryan, do you recommend not to use add instance node for static mesh on an event tick for like a tank track pad to simulate tracks moving when speed not equal to 0? Would it be better to achieve this effect in animation instead? Yes, definitely animation based. What's the other one I saw about blood? Where is that? How would you make a blood effect where the blood flows down the walls and objects after hitting them? Interesting. How would I do that? I've never made it before, but I'll give it a shot. The main thing I'm thinking of is you won't know because you won't get can't get the normal decal. Oh no, wait, yes you can. You can get. So blood and things like that are going to be decals. You could do an additive type of decal. Oh, we can't with decals. Don't know. So I mean, you could do it Niagara, but again, it would ideally be decals. With the material editor here, you can get things like the normal of the world, which if you know if like it should be running down, for example, which direction it should run in. Let me try it without a decal. Let's try it with just an object with this in here. Thank you for the donation, JT. Thank you. Yeah, you can. Yeah, getting the surface normal is fine. It's getting it to change the picture based on it. Could you make a render target that you draw to? You could do that. Don't know. You can always fake it with a flipbook animation. Trying to think how you do that. So I mean, the simplest thing would be a flipbook animation, so it's not actually real. It's just a canned animation of the image, and you can speed it up and speed it down based upon the orientation of the surface. So the more vertical it is, the faster it goes. I can't show it because I don't have a flipbook for it. But if you wanted the technical way, so whenever you're trying to solve problems with in games in general, there's a few ways to think about a problem. Is you can treat it like real life. Okay, so I could take a blood glob, stick it to the wall, and apply physics to it, and as it rolls down the floor, we play decals on the floor. Yep, that would work, but the cost of that is quite expensive because you think about it, you've got a physics object bouncing around, plus placing no decals and things. So you could do it like that. May not be the best way. The other way is completely fake it, again, like the flipbook idea, or some sort of in between method, where you want to think, okay, well, mathematically, how would I do this? So I would want to know the normal of the surface in order to change the texture. Yeah. So we often do it for things like flowing water. We can get water to flow a certain direction based upon the normal. Okay. So like, so it'd be something like this sort of some variation of this kind of tech. This is where I'd start experimenting and put it in. So I put that into base color, for example, like that. but I'd change the UVs of it panning based upon the normal of it. So we'll just append vector there, and we'll get the normal pixel, normal word space. And let's say I want to dot product that against the 1 here. So if I were to put this in here like this, for example, it's going to scale the top one because we're doing the normal against the top value here. So if it's pointing up, it's going to be 1, and therefore it's going to scroll 1. If I want the sides to scroll and not the top, regardless of which direction it is, because if I just put in 1 there and put in 0 here, you get just that side, yeah. So you may be able to do that and that, but you see you get different variations going on here, which direction it should go. Yeah. So little things like this to work out like the surface what it should be doing. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so if I just do abs on that, they should all go up. Yeah, there you go. So if I multiply that all by -1, there we now all go down. So this is how you do like waterfalls and things like that. And if you put this on a sphere, for example, you'll see it do some weird things. It should be better than that. But basically, I'll put it on the box and you can see what I mean. So if I put that on here, okay. Oh, I didn't apply it. Okay. So there you go. But if I was to turn this slightly, you can see it moving. I would just need to work out which directions it tilted to by comparing its normal against other normals. I'll work out which direction it's going in. But yeah, we can. The more I tilt it, the faster it will go. All right. So it'd be something along this sort of kind of tech. But I'm not entirely certain exactly how. But this is where I'd start. I'd start with something like this. Let's see if I can make this work. So I would then think about making additive materials. So using a render target to draw to a material live. So you can do a canvas render target, and you can draw to it. You basically design what you want the glob to look like, and you draw it additively to the material. I've got way too much, not enough time to show that. But it's basically how you do things like a writing mechanic. So if you want to write like a whiteboard, for example, in a game, it's how you do things like that, how you do drawings in the game. It's also how you do like snow impressions, for example. Yeah, but that'd be where I'd look at is doing additive stuff coupled with this. If you look up, I'm sure there's a tool on YouTube somewhere. I haven't done it yet. Of doing like the whiteboard marker type stuff. Do that, and then combine it with this to control how much it moves rather than anything else, like the player character, and that should get you quite close to what you're trying to achieve. Or fake it with flipbooks, anyway. How do you go about programming more time into the day? Delete the sleep function. We are out of time, unfortunately. Tilt shift. I do want to try doing a tilt shift effect. That'd be quite fun to figure out to do. I might try spend some time figuring that out. That might be quite fun. But yeah, that'd be quite cool. Any basic examples of grabbing a 2D item icon and dragging it into a skill bar, like learning abilities? I've got videos on that. Look up my ability series I've done years ago. Inventory series, we've got drag and drop functionality in there. Yeah, it's done other places. You can check that out. Give us an idea of where to go with that. But yeah. But that'll do for tonight. Say it's getting late. I've got to jump into a session. But we are live again tomorrow doing a retro remake part 2 of our River City Ransom game. So Barmy, join me for that. And yeah, it'd be all good to go. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/Ryan Laley. Over there, they've got the complete quiz game series, which you guys haven't even seen started yet, and also the complete local multiplayer series, which again you guys haven't seen yet. And they've been getting project files each week. I've forgotten to put up the one for this week. It's on the way. It's the quiz game series. It's going to be the project files, so that will be available to everyone up there. Plus more Mario Kart stuff. Loading screens, how to do a loading screen properly without C++, and some animation based things, smooth game animations type stuff. Yeah, all coming out in the next not too distant future. So yeah, once again I want to say thank you to everyone over there who are supporting me and the channel there. Without you guys supporting the channel and donations over there, none of this would have happened, so thank you again so much. But as I said, we're back alive again tomorrow night, and I'll leave you to it. I'm getting very hot, so I want to move on. So thank you very much, everyone. Take care, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye.